In the news recently, they talked about a teacher who was using Seinfeld as a way of teaching psychiatry to medical students. Anthony Tobias has his students watch Seinfeld reruns in preparation for discussions on mental health. Tobias has said that you have a very diverse group of personality traits that are maladaptive on the individual level. And if you were wondering on what type of disorders you can label yourself as per the Seinfeld show, if you're like Jerry, you would have an obsessive compulsive disorder. If you're like Kramer, you'd have schizoid traits. If you're like Elaine, then you cannot participate in relationships that are meaningful. And George is, of course, very egocentric. This is George, and this is the world revolving around him. He calls these trainings Psyfeld. And by the way, in a related story, Jerry is asking for $7 million for each of Professor Tobias's lectures. We have another item from our segment, The Small Print. And this is based on the fact that what they're calling the flu season. We're being told that this is the worst flu season in history. Now, these guys that are pushing the flu vaccine, don't you think they should just shut up at this point? I mean, the flu vaccine, they're accosting you at every drugstore, supermarket, bowling alley, nail salon in America, and they've been doing this for the past decade, yet they're telling us the flu is worse than ever. This kind of reminds me of the old Arsenio Hall segment, things that make you go, This season, as they say, hasn't peaked yet, so the expectations are the numbers will get much worse before they get better. Now, the CDC won't compare the latest flu season against previous ones, but at the same token, they're saying that all signs indicate this is going to be, once again, the worst one they've ever had. Now, Dr. Young, this expert, has said that this predominant flu virus that's going around is this H3N2 virus, and he's saying that this has been the most severe and major culprit for this season. He says it's a strain, however, that's not really covered by this flu vaccine. And this one always drives me crazy. He says, we usually do a good job predicting the strain for the vaccines. This year, we may have missed a bit. The vaccine may not work as well as in the past. Yet, experts still say that this flu shot is your best bet in fighting the flu, that there's zero harm, as this Dr. Davis says, in getting the vaccine. Now, the bottom line is that there's no such thing as a non-risky vaccine. There's always a risk when you're injecting foreign chemicals, heavy metals, and unnatural viruses directly into your bloodstream. He said we may have missed this a bit, that we usually do a pretty good job with it, but this is always the rub against the vaccine, that virtually every year that they didn't quite get it. And the bottom line is there's no such thing as coming close. Close only counts, as they say, in horseshoes, and the reality is when you get a vaccine, this is a chemical hand grenade. So the bottom line is that medication is not the answer to fighting off the flu. They always miss it anyways, and the result, even if they say they did catch the right strain in a particular flu vaccine, is it's never really been proven that it actually works or makes anybody any better. In fact, I've seen a lot of studies that show that people get the flu vaccine are the ones most likely to get it and often become the sickest. They say the season hasn't peaked yet, so apparently we haven't made it to the playoffs. If you notice, this season they call the flu season always comes right after the holiday season. Now, the holidays are a time of joy and merriment, but also lots of sugar and extreme sports like watching 48 straight hours of football, and there's a lot of severe financial stress. So maybe the reason flu numbers are up every time at about this time each year is that immunity is down. Flu is up because your resistance goes down during this time of year when you're punishing yourself internally. I've not found for my family, for the family of our patients, for the other doctors that I work with, we don't have the flu season, and that's because we don't really go full out during holidays and really punish ourselves like so many other people do. The nutrition facts that we're going to share with you on this show, as well as fitness facts that we're going to go over with you today towards the end, these things alone will help you fight the flu better than any flu shot. We get it right every single year, and there are no side effects. Now let's get into action steps. And I will always make sure there are easy takeaways, once again, from every show. We want life to get better. We want you to be able to do stuff from watching this, so that it's not just a lot of me being here with my talking head. There's something you can do. Now, I went down this road of better health, as I mentioned earlier, due to my own youthful problems with my well-being. I remember the moment I decided to get into nutrition, to get into things like chiropractic, to get into psychiatry, the area of wellness where you can be fighting for your health by the way you're living, not looking always into what's the latest drug or surgery I can do to try and get better now that my health is gone. I remember the moment that I thought of this was when I went to my doctor. I was actually in school to be a medical doctor. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I was going to see my orthopedic surgeon yet again because I had this horrible low back pain. I had this terrible shoulder, and I had now had a bleeding ulcer due to the drug they were giving me called Feldine, which was an anti-inflammatory of the day that could cause you to burn through your stomach lining. So I'm making my way up the stairs to go see this doctor, and I can barely move. Now, I'm only 18 years old, and I'm thinking, God, oh God, why have you forsaken me? Because when you're 18, you just know the world is over because your shoulder hurts. I went into that particular meeting with the doctor, and he said, well, you know what? I think what it is you have arthritis, and it's time to stop wrestling. And at the time, that's what I wanted to be, was an Olympic wrestler. And I was working very hard in college to be an elite athlete. And now he's telling me at 18, it's over. And he says arthritis. I'm thinking, isn't that what like 70 or 80-year-old people get? And you're telling me I have it at 18? And he even said things like, by the time you're 40, you won't be able to lift your arms over your head. You won't be able to throw a ball, that you're doomed even if you do quit. So at that moment, I knew I needed to do something besides what my medical doctor was offering. I needed to look into other alternatives. Since I couldn't use drugs anymore because of what it had done to my stomach lining, I had to see a nutritionist. I had to go to a chiropractor. I had to get my lifestyle in order, and it released this power we've been talking about, this genesis factor in my body. I was literally able to begin healing, and within a very short period of time, I was back to wrestling. I was off all my medications. I became an All-American wrestler the next year. Years later, I became second in the country in wrestling. And to this day, at nearly 50 years old, I'm still competing in high trauma sports. I can, in fact, get both arms over my head. I'm not anything like I was being told I was doomed to be, all from getting my lifestyle back in order. Again, the cause is the cure. We need to show you how to eat, how to think, how to exercise, how to go to the right types of doctors to remove the interference and get you well.